What's up, guys? Blaine Duncan here from Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers, joined week after week by my brother, Austin. We're back. We took a week off. Thank you guys for being patient with us. We know we got a lot of messages. People are being like, WTF, what are you guys doing? This is the weekly podcast. We know we had to take a week off. As you can see, Austin is back in front of the Myers house again, and that is because he moved again. So last week you kind of had a moving thing going on, and there just wasn't a good time to hook up and connect for the show. So you're going to have kind of a new studio set up here relatively soon. But that's what's kind of been going on in our world in the last week. So how'd the move go? Everything. I haven't seen your new place yet, but I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see the new studio also.
Yeah, so we are in transition. We are gonna have a full studio. I loved the studio that I had at the beginning of this show. If you go back, I kind of built it up over the first 15 episodes of the show, and then had to move, and now I am moving again, and I'm hoping to get back to where we're at, episode 15. So I have a full space of my own here, where we're going to be able to make a lot of cool stuff that we'll get into as the episode gets on. But the real new studio is still coming. It's behind me. You just can't see it yet. Hopefully there will be enough to really be a grand reveal at some point, but we're not quite there yet.
Sure. So for now, you're at the Myers house. You're back at the Myers house.
For now, I'm where I belong. A place that you and I have been officially. That photo is going to be in my eventual studio setup here.
Awesome. Well, we did kind of make a little post last week that garnered some attention. It got, again, some messages that said we were going to have some big announcements coming your way. And we're just going to get right into those announcements before we actually get into what this episode is about.
We quit. It's over. It's been real, guys.
Austin's not even my brother. Joke's on you guys.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Austin is my brother. He's my brother. And we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. However, some things are going to be changing around here. I'm laying the smack down right now. I'm Dwayne Johnsoning your ass. I'm not gonna rock bottom you. But what I am gonna say is the show is going nowhere. However, we are going to rebrand the channel a little bit. There's going to be some changes as far as the overall channel goes, and what that means. It just means there's going to be a lot more content coming your way. It's not going to be all Halloween content. It's going to be everything from horror movie reviews to mask making to paranormal and really everything in between. We are going to have additional shows that we're going to be hosting on this channel. Austin's going to have a solo show. I'm going to have a solo show. We're going to be doing things with other people besides just Austin and I. We are even going to have other people are going to be having shows on this channel. And that is one thing that I do want to mention is we have had people reach out to us in the past and they say, we love what you guys do. I would love to have my own show. Well, guess what? Here's your opportunity. If you would like to have your own podcast or your own video YouTube show, bring it to Austin and I. If we like the idea, which we probably will, because we're really open to all ideas at this point. But if we like the idea, we will host you on this channel where you will automatically get thousands of people who are willing to or who might be able to watch your videos. You'll be hooked up to our Spotify, hooked up to our Apple, YouTube, Instagram, everything in between. If you want to host your own show, whatever it might be, horror, paranormal, whatever you want it to be. If you want to have a host for your channel, we are going to be it, and we would love to have you guys participate with us. Again, we are rebranding the channel. Halloween Lives is going nowhere. The show itself that you guys are watching right now is going to continue on exactly as we have been doing. We're just making it bigger. We're making it better. And there's just going to be a lot more content coming your way. And hopefully it's stuff that you guys are really interested in. And it's really, it's an idea that you and I have honestly been talking about for the better part of a year now about what can we do to expand the channel, to make the channel bigger. And this is going to be the official rollout. The official rollout is going to happen later on this summer. We don't have an exact date for it yet. We're still very much in the planning phase. But I am really excited. As I mentioned, we're going to each have our own solo shows. And it's going to be really fun to get to watch yours, and I'm sure you'll watch mine, and we'll hopefully draw in a whole bunch more people who are, not currently subscribed or not currently watching this specific show, but then maybe they discover Halloween and they discover Halloween Lives, and they become fans of this show as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. As we said, Austin and I are not going anywhere. We're just going to get bigger, and we're going to rebrand a little bit and change things up. But this show, as you know it, it's going to continue because we are Halloween Lives, a podcast of Michael Myers. And dude, I'm super excited to get going down this road with you.
Yeah, and that's something that I want to stress right off the top is that, like, priority number one, the biggest thing, the reason we're here, being able to speak to individuals that we are, currently talking to is because of Halloween Lives.
Right.
That is still primary focus number one. And that is the goal of this channel, is to have Halloween Lives videos coming out weekly, just like we've done now. There have been 2 weeks already in 2024
I know
where we haven't done it, but I think we have good reason for it. Ultimately, this spins out of you and I having more ideas that maybe don't align necessarily just with Halloween Lives, the brand that we've created. And so, we want to be able to channel those ideas and send them, because a lot of the times we're like, our base that we have here, the people that are with us week in and week out would enjoy these videos, but it doesn't really have anything to do with what we've done now for 64 weeks. And so rebranding allows us to put out more content than just Halloween Lives. But if you're here, like many of you are, just for that Halloween Lives, good news, nothing's changing. Halloween Lives will be here week in and week out, just like we were saying. But there's just going to be more. It allows us to, express art in different ways. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. And it's something that we have been talking about for a really long time. And we've gone through kind of multiple iterations of this, what it's going to look like. But ultimately just kind of wanted to vibe check with everybody here and see, like, how everybody else is feeling about this change. But ultimately, if you love Halloween Lives, if you don't care what the hell we got to say about anything else, you're still going to be in just fine shape here, because we're going to keep doing this ourselves. But I'm really excited about it, dude. There's a lot of opportunity for us to showcase more of the stuff that we're interested in. I think there's a lot of stuff that we have kind of kept close to the chest because it has nothing to do with Michael Myers.
Right.
But
well,
there
I think
is.
You said,
go
sorry. I was just going to say, I think you said it perfectly. Like you and I are very creative individuals and creative in our own separate ways. But there have been so many text messages or phone calls or times that we've been together where it's been like, man, it'd be awesome. We should do this. We should do this. And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't really fit Halloween Lives. So what can we do? Well, maybe we should just let's just start our own show talking about this. Well, yeah, that'd be cool. But then we kind of have to start kind of fresh and whatever. And it's like, well, wait, what if we just expand on the channel and we each do our own thing in some ways, and in other ways we come together again for different things, and then we invite other people in and to have their own shows, and it just kind of builds this Halloween Lives family, even though it might not be all about Halloween. It could be about something totally different. So I think that's where you kind of talked about that. That's just, we both have had really awesome creative ideas, and it, in a way, although I love this podcast, you are a little bit handcuffed because we are such we are what we say we are. We're Halloween Lives, right? We're Halloween Michael Myers podcast. So we're somewhat handcuffed by that because we can't expand a whole lot on that. Well, we're breaking the chains off. We're going to just kind of throw caution to the wind, and we're going to pull out all the stops and do what we want to do and just expand the channel. And it's going to be freaking fun.
Yeah, I mean, and that is the cool thing about what we're doing, is that we're not all of a sudden changing Halloween, or we're not ending Halloween Lives. I never want to end Halloween Lives, especially with all the cool stuff coming down the pipeline in the next few years here. Mm-hmm. This is going nowhere. We love this. It's just, we want to be able to do more, and starting from scratch, honestly, it's been difficult to build where we are today, and want to keep all of you that we've been able to meet through this show with us along that process. So Halloween Lives, going nowhere, still top priority. We're just gonna start throwing out some more videos your way.
We're like a rock band that's like, hey, we're gonna keep touring, we're gonna keep making our own music, but we're gonna each hit the studio on our own and put out our own separate music, and then we'll come back together. I mean, it's not like nothing is changing. We're the in sync of Halloween. Do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be? Who do you want to be?
Well, I feel like everybody wants to be. Wait, okay. This is genuinely a question for you. Justin Timberlake, NSYNC, correct?
I don't honestly know that I can name another NSYNC member besides Justin Timberlake.
I think Joey Fatone is a.
That's right,
NSYNC.
Joey.
He could be Backstreet Boys. That's where my trouble is. I don't know which one is which.
Well, we're the Backstreet Boys. We're the NSYNC, whatever it is. We're always going to be the band, but we're just going to kind of do some other things on the side. And hey, we don't need to talk about it anymore because we beat this thing to death. You guys know where we're at. Come find us. If you want to have your own show and you want us to host it for you, we'd be really happy to do that. It would be a lot of fun to have you guys. So hit us up. Either send us a message on Instagram, leave a comment down below with your email address, whatever it might be. And yeah, we'd love to have you guys join the channel. So before we get into this week's episode a little bit further as far as the actual Halloween stuff goes, we do want to mention next week's episode, probably my favorite episode or favorite time of the year for this channel, is we are doing our Halloween draft. Last year, it was just Austin and I. This year, we're bringing on two very special guests, guys who have both been on the program separately, but they're going to be joining us for the draft. And that is Justin, who goes by The Shape of Winter on Instagram, and then Josh, who goes by The Shape NC on Instagram. So,
and YouTube, that dude drops incredible YouTube videos, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. And they're both going to be joining the show. They're going to be going through the draft with us. If you guys watched the draft last year, it was a lot of fun. And we thought, what way to make it better than to just bring on a couple extra guys or a couple extra people and make it a little bit more challenging. You're going to have to be a little bit more selective with your picks and, trades and whatnot. So that episode is going to be airing next Friday. And I am super stoked for that because no questions asked. That was my favorite episode that we did all of last year. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But we are here to talk about Halloween. We're here. We're not just here to pump the channel, pump the rebrand.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about Michael Myers. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about the top 5 ways that we loved the top 5 ways that we appreciated how Michael was either killed or the story of Michael Myers ended in that specific movie. So when we started talking about this idea, it was like, okay, Michael dies technically in every movie, but no, he really doesn't, because even you go back to 1978, he gets shot, he falls off the balcony, but boom, he lives, right? Or you take part 5, he gets, captured and beat up, but then he goes to jail and he really doesn't die. He gets blown out, or the jail cell gets exploded and all this stuff. So we're just going to talk about our top 5 ways that he was either killed or captured, or how that story ended. And dude, I want you to go first. Do you have them in order? Do you have them like 5 to 1?
Yeah, I'm going to go 5 to 1 with this. Just because I want to preface, I think we're going to have the same number 1, and I'll be really upset with you if we don't. Because I think there is a clear winner for the best way Michael Myers dies in this franchise. But I am going to start out with, obviously he dies many ways in this franchise, but my number 5 for this is going to be H2. Obviously we've got the scene with Laurie, Loomis, and Michael, kind of our big 3, especially in that first 2, duology before we go into the season of the witch. Laurie's turning up the gas, and this is in a lot of ways a good example of what Halloween 2 did to the Halloween franchise. Is it tried to level everything up. And so obviously in Halloween 1, 1978, we get Michael getting shot 6 times, but obviously he does disappear. So you need to level that up in a way that Michael, audience moviegoers are going to go, okay, yeah, he's really dead this time. And in 1981, they decided the best way to do that was filling the room with gas and
Oxygen.
Oxygen.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And they blow up the shape. But it's more than just the explosion and that shot that I love of the mask burning at the end of that film. I love that shot. I think Michael's death in that scene really starts as soon as he gets shot in the eyes, and you get that great scene of Michael, with his hands over his. Obviously, you get the blood tears, which have become, a symbol of Michael Myers in its own regard. But then you get that great scene, which I think people either love it or hate it, with the sound effects of Michael closing his eyes and giving the, oh my God.
Yeah.
And,
but it reminds me when I was a kid, I had Power Ranger gloves, and inside the gloves, like there was a little button inside, and when you push the button, it made that noise like that, like a karate, like a hand chopping. And so you could chop and fight with your Power Ranger gloves on, and it made that exact same noise, that, and it's like no hand moves that quickly through air that it would ever make that sound, or no, in this place, or in this way, I guess in this scene, he's got I believe the little scalpel knife.
Yep.
That would never make that sound. So yeah, it's annoying as hell.
And like I completely agree. It's definitely very unrealistic, very cheesy, but it is kind of like part of that Halloween too. You just know that scene's coming, and I've really grown to love it over the years. So you obviously get that Michael is distracted, he can't see, and Laurie and Dr. Loomis devise a plot to blow the shape up, and it ultimately leads to a great shot of both Michael walking out completely engulfed in flames, and then that shot that I already spoke about with, him on the ground burning up. I think it was a great way for, at the time, them to be like, okay, we're wrapping up this storyline. I think John Carpenter was ready to move on to other endeavors like Season of the Witch, and let's just blow him up. I feel like that is a big step up from him just getting shot. And it's very indicative of that whole film in general, Halloween 2. So that's coming in at my number 5 spot, and I've already just spoken about how much I love it, so it's only going to go up there for me. What about you, dude?
Well, so my number 5 is going to be Halloween 2018. So I truly enjoyed it. As much as I rip on this film for being a little bit over the top, I do appreciate the creative nature that they went to, and the creative extent, I guess, that they went to in order to quote unquote kill Michael in this film. Rambo Laurie had obviously rigged her house to Kingdom Come to she had the natural gas rigged throughout the entire house, and she just had to turn on a few valves here and there, and she could, she trapped Michael, obviously. But I think what I love mostly about that whole scene and how he dies is really the lead up to it. And what I remember specifically in 2018, seeing that film, when there's the scene where Michael busts his body kind of halfway through the door, through the glass, and he's got Laurie and she's got the shotgun, and they're kind of struggling back and forth with the shotgun. I remember when she pulls the trigger and she blows off 2 of his fingers, I was like, holy shit, we've never seen that before. And because you'd never seen Michael like humanized in that way and hurt in that way, right? He'd been shot, but he'd never lost any appendages. He'd never lost a limb. He'd never lost any body parts at all, right? He just took the bullets to the chest and kept moving, or fell down, or whatever it was. But when he blew off his freaking fingers, I was like, God damn. Like they're not messing around here. So I liked that whole lead up. I thought it was very scary, like the whole scene where she goes upstairs and she sees the blood on the bloody handprints on the wall and shit like that. And she's hunting him at that point, but she also knows that he's still hunting her. He's hiding in that room full of mannequins, which is creepy as hell. I don't know why anybody would have those in their house, but this whole thing, transpires, and eventually he's knocked down into the basement where she's got this whole thing rigged up with her center island that moves. And, she gets knocked down there, and those big spikes or whatever, the rods, go firing off. and Michael is trapped. She ignites the house, and there's just the scene where that scene where the camera is shooting down and Michael is staring up, and it's like they're having this moment and nothing is said, but Michael is staring up at them and she is staring, and she and Allison and Karen are staring down at Michael, and nothing is said in that moment, but you know exactly what the other people, what they're thinking of each other, right? Michael is like, you can see it. He's just like, I was so close. But he's not fighting it. He's not trying to escape. He's not reacting to the fire at all. And they obviously, the house becomes engulfed in flames, and they get out and they take off in the pickup truck, and the house is on fire and burns to the ground, or is burning to the ground, I should say, as they drive away. And I think that was so well done. It was very creative. And if there hadn't have been a Halloween Ends, or I'm sorry, Halloween Kills or Halloween Ends, I could live with that ending. I really could. I would be okay with that ending if 2018 had not been successful and they said, shit, you know what, the market's just not there anymore, and this is obviously, people don't care about Halloween anymore. I could have been okay with that ending. Like if that was how they killed off, if that was how Laurie Strode beat Michael, I would be okay with that after revisiting this whole story 40 years later. Obviously, when the credits end, you get Michael breathing and you just know he's still alive. I like those little kind of like little things that they throw in films like that. I always think that's great because you see people get up and walk out of the film, the theater right away. And it's like, no, wait. They're going to do something, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And in this case they did, but I love that ending. I think that's why it falls at my number 5 for me of how we saw Michael killed off throughout the franchise. It was just, I liked it.
You brought up my favorite part of that scene, which is just the two parties staring at each other. Mm-hmm. Once the those like sharp rods stick through the hole under the center island that was moved. That shot of Michael looking up at them and like, you beat me this time, but
right,
you don't really know what he's thinking, obviously, because he's this man behind a mask and there's so much mystery behind him. But I love that shot of him looking up at them like, damn you, but I'm still gonna get you. I love that shot because it's like the only time you have the opportunity to have our protagonist and antagonist staring at each other without Michael, like, obviously trying to murder them.
Right. They're separated by bars, which they were separated by bars go at the beginning of that film, and at the end of that film, they're separated by bars again.
Damn. Yeah. 100%.
That's deep. This is the shit that I lay awake at night and think about when I should be thinking about other things.
This is why we have a weekly podcast on Michael Myers, man. This is what you get here on Halloween Lives. Well, yeah, I absolutely agree. Halloween 2018 did not make my list, just because I always consider it very similar to H2, and H2 just gets that nostalgia win for me. But coming in at my number 4 spot, respectively, Halloween 4. I love it. So it's very interesting that we talk H2 being similar to 2018. I think H4 very similar to Halloween Kills. Halloween 4, I love, I don't have as much to jump into on why I love it. I love that we get that final chase scene with Michael, or not really a chase scene, but the scene with I want to call it Rachel. I was going to call her Ellie. Rachel and Jamie in the car with Michael. Obviously, you get the great scene. We talked about it a lot on the Rick or Treat podcast, which we should also mention.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, go ahead. Talk about that real quick.
We are 24 minutes into the episode, but we need to tell you, if you missed us a little bit and you're going, where do I get that extra hour of Duncan Brothers content? Well, how about 2 more hours with Rick or Treat podcast? We had a great time on there talking about Halloween 4. And that link will be in the description of this video. It's a full breakdown of that movie, which, we have not given it the full breakdown. We've broken down a couple of films. but not to that detail.
No, 2 hours of H4 discussion.
Absolutely. It was super fun. We had
Ricky
the
was an
best
awesome
time.
dude. Yeah, Ricky was
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out his podcast, you got to go check it out. The Rick or Treat podcast, which I told him right off the beginning, at the beginning of the episode. I'm like, dude, you got the best freaking podcast name ever. His name is Ricky. He calls it Rick or Treat. He kind of explains how that whole thing came to be. So yeah, you guys need to go check that out. Yeah, Austin will drop the link in this video. But yeah, you're right. If you missed us last week, you get an extra couple hours this week. 3 hours actually. You're gonna get 3 hours of Halloween Lives content with Blaine and Austin this week. That's not bad.
I don't feel so bad for being gone for a week.
No,
That's
I think
all
I'm
saying.
gonna skip next week too. We're an hour ahead. You know. Yeah. Sorry. Keep going.
Plenty. Anyways,
keep going with H4.
Halloween 4. The way that it ends with Michael kind of being swallowed up after being, basically there's a big revenge for the town of Haddonfield. One thing that I believe his name is Dwight Little, right? Correct.
Who directed it? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. One thing that Dwight Little did was emphasize the effect that Michael had on the town of Haddonfield. We hadn't seen that yet. And, obviously, like I said, this is a motif, a theme that is brought up much further in Halloween Kills. But I think the subtlety of how they did it in Halloween 4 works for me a little bit better than what was done in Halloween Kills. I love that Haddonfield gets his revenge on Michael Myers. And, just the shot of him getting swallowed up by the dirt in the graveyard. I mean, that's pretty metal. It's pretty 80s. And I don't know. It's something about that film. Obviously, Halloween 4, we talk about it on a Rick or Treat podcast. It's one of the best Halloween films in existence. And I think the ending is very fitting. So when it comes to Michael Myers' deaths, that's probably the most poetic one, the one that feels like it would fit best in an Edgar Allan Poe story. Michael getting swallowed up by the town that he had traumatized. And that's where it lands at number 4 for me, is that Halloween 4 ending.
Well, I will tell you that Halloween 4 did not make my list, but it was an honorable mention, no questions asked. Probably number 6, to be honest with you, maybe number 7. I think I love that film so much. The only thing that I would say that I didn't like about that was just the way he was just he was blasted to frickin' smithereens. And I do like that he kind of fell into that mine shaft or that pit or whatever it was. I thought that was really cool, but I'm not super in love with the ending of that film. I don't necessarily love the ending of that film, but it's just so good in general that it probably would have made an honorable mention for me. But so H4 did not make my list. However, sticking with the fire theme, I'm going to go with my number 4, and we're going to talk about one that you just talked about and your number 5 pick, and that is H2. So H2, you talked about it, you hit on all the highlights. I think that whole film, just like it what I think I've discovered more and more about H2 is the midway point. And I know we talked about this. We re-ranked all the films after this last Halloween and this last Halloween season. And the more I watch H2, the more I realize that halfway through the film, it becomes kind of a slow burn. That's a lot of very slow paced stuff. There's not a lot of excitement. So I think what I like about H2 in that ending is that it's explosive. I mean, the ending of that film is explosive. And I also, one of the things, and I don't know if you touched on this or not, but I don't remember, but that Dr. Loomis is like, I'm going with you. I'm taking, Loomis knows he is most likely about to die. And I think if we hadn't have had the reaction that we got to H3 with there being WTF, where's Michael Myers? I think Loomis does die there. I think that Michael dies, Loomis dies. We don't ever see this franchise or the franchise with Michael Myers as we know it is over. Obviously that's not the case because he comes back. But I think that scene is Loomis sacrificing himself for the greater good of humanity, basically, for the greater good of Laurie, for the greater good of Haddonfield, for the greater good of everybody, and saying, this is my patient. I'm going to make sure he burns in hell, and I'm going to take him, I'm going to go with him, basically. So how he lights that lighter, and it just kaboom, just explodes. And then, like you say, you've got that awesome scene where Michael who I'm sure was Dick Warlock in that giant, like looked like a freaking giant space suit, comes walking out and then collapses down. And you get that scene where the mask is burning at the end with the, Mr. Sandman song playing.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. And that is always, I mentioned this, that H2 is always the last film that I watch on Halloween night. It's usually after midnight by that point. But my Halloween season, November 1st, Halloween, October 31st and November 1st always end and begin usually with that Mr. Sandman song. And that's why that song like holds like almost like a special place in my heart, because it's like when that happens, when that song plays, it's like, okay, Halloween's over. This is it. Like, this is it for a year. I pack all my stuff up, including these movies, and I don't watch them again for an entire year. So, it's not, it's just a song that, that has special meaning to me because of that, because I always end my Halloweens the same. But you knocked on all the points already. I've touched on all the points. I won't beat a dead horse. But it was, it's a great film, great ending, and it hits my number 4 on my list.
I think you bring up a couple great points with Dr. Loomis, kind of fulfilling that hero's destiny that's set up in Halloween 1978. Something I didn't touch on, but is absolutely what brings more emotional gravity to it. And then, Mr. Sandman, man, that is like a church hymn to the Duncan Brothers on Halloween. Definitely love that song. And I think it's the OG, like, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, any sort of like happy song in a horror movie that's been turned creepy. Maybe there's an earlier example of it, but to me, Mr. Sandman is the OG of that idea. So coming in at number 3, we're going to jump light years into the future with Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. I love the way Michael dies in this. And I think it was a great idea to kind of do the OG ending of Halloween 1978. The first time I ever watched Rob Zombie's Halloween 1, I was well familiar with 1978 by John Carpenter. And, anybody who's a fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween 1, the second half of that film is very similar to John Carpenter's original film. And you get a fake out ending, which I freaking love. I love that you get the ending from 1978 and you're like, all right, okay, I guess we're gonna see kind of the moments after Laurie is gonna go to the cop car with Loomis in it. We're gonna get kind of a little bit more peaceful ending than we did. Absolutely not. We're going back into it. Michael's getting more violent than ever. And ultimately, and this is going to start a theme for the next couple picks for me.
Okay.
And that is Laurie and Michael getting their final moment. And it's one of the best because Laurie starts out, I guess halfway once we get the time jump. Laurie starts out as a pretty standard high school girl, just living her life, doing her thing. And by the end of the movie, you get to really see what this trauma has done to her when she, and forgive the monetization of this film.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. But she shoots him in the head. And like, this is a high school girl that like started off Halloween like this is just going to be a normal other day. And you see the fear and the scream after she shoots him. And that hits me, dude. Like say what you want about the Rob Zombie films. That scene really hits me of like, yeah, Michael's this terrible being. And even though he is kind of a sympathetic character in that film, obviously Laurie is the good guy. And you see already what Michael's able to do to the individuals around him. And I love that she shoots him and she screams and we cut it there. That's the end of the film. As much as I love the 1978, nothing will probably ever top it as far as just endings in general go with Laurie looking or Dr. Loomis looking over the balcony and seeing an empty grassy field and not reacting, not screaming no, but just sort of knowing, who it is he's dealing with. I love that ending. But damn, I loved seeing what happened to Laurie because of Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. So I got to give him credit, if nothing else, for that. Wish we could have gotten a little bit less of the weird shit at the beginning of that film, but we did end it out very well. So that comes in at my number 3 pick.
Here's what I'll say. Do you know what I love most about the ending of that film? Is that the goddamn 25-minute long chase scene between Michael and Laurie comes to an end, because it drives me insane. Every time I watch that film, I'm like, why does this go on so long? Like, legit, they could have cut that in half. Like, and I know what you're saying. Like, you get that fake out ending where you know, Laurie and Michael are sitting in the car and she says, you know, it was the boogeyman or whatever the fuck she says. That's different than it is different. And the way that Loomis delivers it, or Malcolm McDowell delivers it, is not great, but whatever. So then he breaks through the window and he pulls him out, and it's just like, and he pulls her out, and it's like, oh God, please, I want this to be over. Like, please just be over. And then they go through this whole fight scene again, and she's freaking in the attic, and then they bust through, you know, the window or whatever the hell it is and go out, or she's standing out on the balcony, whatever. I don't even know what it is, because by the time that comes to that scene, I'm usually like half falling asleep. It just takes too long. So I love that film ends. So that did not make my ending or my top 5 for that reason, because dude, it just takes so long. It's just like, God, somebody either just kill her already or kill him already. Just please, just end this thing.
I hear you, but I got to take myself back to the first time I watched it, which granted was like, okay, this came out in 2007. So I was literally 10 years old. And I remember being like, damn, especially the attic scene where he's like busting through the attic and she's in there. I remember being like, oh, this is the first time I'm really scared of Michael Myers. So it holds this bit of a special place in my heart. But I was 10 years old. So I gotta maybe take off the rose tinted glasses.
That's all right. Speaking of rose tinted glasses, I'm going to put mine on, because I'm going to talk about an ending right here that most people don't. Well, I should say most, but there's a lot of people that don't view this film with rose tinted glasses.
Oh,
I'm talking about the ending to Halloween Ends. So this is my number 3 here. And this one moved around a little bit for me, because I have a love-hate relationship with this ending, because there is such finality to Michael Myers in this film. They literally throw him into a grinder and grind up his body, and you see his skull get crushed, and there ain't no coming back, right? However, I will say the lead up to that scene, the whole fight scene that happens in the kitchen, there is once Corey is killed by Michael, or no, hold on, let me back up. How does that? I'm trying to think about how this works now. So the scene where Laurie realizes that the window is open.
Yeah.
And she realizes she's not alone in this house anymore. Like, Corey is dead. Allison has already come through at this point. And she realizes that she is not alone. And if I remember right, there's like no music or anything. It's just like background noise. And
I remember saying to you in the theater, like, oh shit.
Right.
Like, we knew what was going to go down. Yeah.
Yes. This is 42, 43 years in the making at this point, right? From going back to the original film. But you just know the film is called Halloween Ends. We don't know who's going to survive and who's going to die, but you know that the antagonist, the protagonist are coming together at this point, and one person is not going to make it out of this. And you know this is the final battle that you are ever going to see, that you will ever see, between Michael and Laurie Strode, and it's about to happen. And she realizes that I think it's a window or the door. I don't remember what it is. Something is open.
The door is open.
Is that what it is? Okay, yeah, that the door is open, and it's like she knows in her soul. She just knows he's in that house with her. Yeah. And then you get like the heavy boot steps as he bends down and he freaking picks that mask up off the ground, and you just see his hand, pick up the mask. And then you get the battle royale that happens in the kitchen. If anything, I wish I could change about that is I feel like that fight scene went too fast. Where Rob Zombie's Halloween, that fight scene between Laurie and Michael went on way too long. I feel like the Halloween Ends fight scene could have gone on a little bit longer. I wish he had maybe chased her around the house a little bit more. something, right? The girl always runs up the stairs when she should be running out the door. Maybe she runs up the stairs. They have a little fight up there, comes back down. He catches her, whatever. They end up in the kitchen and they end up on this table. And he ends up basically being freaking crucified to this center island. But I think they could have maybe extended, since we knew this was the last time these two were going to meet, they could have extended that a little bit. Not much, but maybe just give us like one more minute of Michael and this Michael Laurie showdown. And and then obviously Allison comes running in and she snaps Michael's arm, and they essentially bleed him out. But then the processional scene, I thought, even though it's a little fake because it's like, well, there's no way that they would have been able to get all these people together. I just love that it was kind of like, to your point, you were talking about with Halloween 4. This was Haddonfield's way of making peace with this whole situation. They have Michael Myers, they have him strapped to this car, and it is literally this funeral procession going to the junkyard, and all these people gather around. They move his body off the top of the car and slide him down. And then Laurie gets that final opportunity, and she's the one who actually rolls him in. They grind him up, and it's gone. It's done. It's over. I love the fact that they really, truly killed Michael, and I hate the fact that they really, truly killed Michael. Okay? Like, I just do. Like, I love it, and I hate it at the same time. But this movie definitely is one of my favorite endings, and that's why it ends up at number 3 for me.
Well, let's keep talking about it because it's number 2 for me, man.
Let's go. All right.
I think you knocked it out of the park. I think, I'll go even further back to Laurie with the fake out suicide scene. Obviously we're talking Corey at that point. We get that great scene with Corey, and obviously Corey at this point sucks. He's no good. But
we love you, Rowan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Rowan, the dude who gave me the sup nod at age 45, I'll never forget it.
Yeah. He made you feel really good about yourself.
It was 1 second for him. It was a lifetime for me. Right. But he comes through that door, and Rowan, or not Rowan, but Corey has the foresight to frame it like Laurie was the bad guy all along, which was kind of a seed that was planted in Allison that had been growing and getting to this point. Brilliantly done. And what that leaves, sorry Halloween Ends haters, is the opportunity for that final showdown of Laurie and Michael. And you said it perfectly. That scene where you realize Michael is in the house and it's just Michael and Laurie, and there's no music. Oh my God.
Damn near gives me chills.
Yeah, dude. Like, I know we talk plenty about how we love Halloween Ends, and there's plenty of people that don't. And thank you for still watching our show after all this time where we, absolutely praise this movie that so many people hate. But that scene is just oh shit. Like, there's so much of that last 45 minutes of the movie where it goes, yeah, you thought Corey was where we were going, but ultimately we are here to prove that Michael Myers is not only the true shape, but we're going to make that final battle with him even more meaningful because Laurie already goes through like a mini boss with Corey. I love that final scene. Love the way that Michael dies. I think one thing that horror movies always like to do, and that people have kind of expected, is Jason gets tied up under the water and but he's still intact. They hit him with the motor on the side of his face, but we're just supposed to believe that this dude who's fully intact is floating and doing fine, and obviously they're going to do a sequel. What I like about Halloween Ends is it's undeniable. First of all, Michael's crucified, and then he is brought through the town of Haddonfield in a very meaningful way, even more so than the Halloween 4 ending that I talked about earlier. And so you get the intimate death of Michael where they're just simply bleeding him out. Then you get the funeral procession, and then finally they throw him in the the grinder. Right. And it's quick. It's not a beautiful death for Michael, but it's one where it's like, oh, well, what are they going to do now? Pull his atoms together in the next
Right.
film and do basically a Jason X.
Right. There's finality. That's what we've always said. Like there is no coming back from that.
That's what I love about Halloween Ends is it's just like, okay, it's 2020. At that time, it was 2022. How are we ever going to get audiences to believe that after being thrown in a grinder, unless you pull some Halloween Resurrection shit where like, oh, he switched clothes with somebody.
Right. But he wasn't wearing his mask.
Right. Exactly.
There was nothing that.
It was the clearest death of Michael Myers, and I respect the hell out of everyone involved with that film for finally giving him the death. And I think the finality is why it lands my number 2 spot. And I think it absolutely is deserving of your number 3 as well. So,
one last thing that I want to say about it is to your point, I really respect the fact that David Gordon Green said, you know what? We are going to put an end to this. Somebody can take this and run with this in a different storyline, but this storyline, this universe that we created here, we're going to end it because we don't want there to somehow be a loophole where somebody could come back and resurrect, literally and figuratively, this movie and do what Resurrection did and really, really, really shit on an amazing ending, which I know you and I are going to be talking about here very shortly. So
yes, sir.
I love the fact that David Gordon Green said, nope, this is my house. I'm going to slam the door on this thing and it's going to be over. And there's no coming back from it. There's no way that somebody's going to say, well, yeah, he had his mask on. It was actually, it was this dude that they threw into the meat grinder and Michael was standing off the disc. No, it's game over. So I do respect it. It was a huge risk. And obviously for a lot of people, it pissed a lot of people off. And like I said, I love it and I hate it at the same time, but yeah, very good. I'm going to give you my number 2 now. Don't really need to talk about this one a whole lot because I think it's going to be pretty obvious of why I love it. And that is the OG, baby. I love the original. And if it wasn't for this one that we're going to be talking about here very shortly, this probably would be my favorite ending. And I know that it's a bit of a cop-out, but I think because that film is perfect in so many ways, and the way that Loomis delivers that line, Laurie botched her line. Laurie completely botched her line because you don't know, is she saying it was the boogeyman or was it the boogeyman? You can't understand what the hell she's saying.
Yeah.
Because she botched her line, but because Loomis delivered that line so well, I think, and then for him to, and we've talked about this, it was almost like he had a moment where he looked at her and he said it, and then he looked over towards the balcony, or he goes over and walks towards the balcony. But there's a glimmer there. There's a moment in time where he almost knows before he even looks over that ledge, Michael ain't going to be there. Like he knows that this dude is not going to be there, even though he just took 6 rounds of the chest. He knows that Michael this is not the end of it. And that's why, he doesn't react when he goes and he looks over the rail or over the edge of the balcony and you don't see Michael there. It's just grass. It's this front yard, or backyard, whatever it's supposed to be. And he's just looking and he just has this long blank stare, just like, my night is not over. This story is not over. My battle with Michael Myers is not over. And he doesn't scream, "Oh my God, Michael, he's alive." No. There's none of that. It's just like, all right, my business is not finished here yet. And then you get the amazing shots throughout the different houses, the Myers house, the Wallace house, outside. I mean, it's so freaking well done the way they ended that film. I'm not going to beat a dead horse once again on this one because it's been talked about. We've talked about it so much on this program, but this film is just so hard to beat for me in so many ways. So that's where it lands. My number 2, the OG 1978 John Carpenter's classic.
Yeah. I think what speaks volumes, and you talked about it, is Dr. Loomis looking over that edge, and he already knows. Right. And that is such a cool idea that John Carpenter put into that just, of course, he's not going to be there.
Right.
it's very Michael Myers. It's what makes Michael Myers different. It's what makes him special. Of course, this dude isn't going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about it, Blaine, because there's only one movie, realistically, when it comes to the death of Michael Myers. And I'm so happy we ended up here, because genuinely, if I'm being assumptive and I'm wrong, I would be so shocked, and I'd be genuinely upset, because when it comes to Michael Myers meeting his demise,
Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah, that's right. Kung Fu Busta Rhymes kicking his ass in some fire.
Right.
No, there is not a single film and not a single scene that does it better than the ending of Halloween H2O.
Yes. Yes.
I'm thrilled that this is where we've ended up, that we can just enjoy this and agree that this is the best way we've seen Michael die, because there's so much that's great about this scene. I want to jump to it and I'm getting ahead of myself, but throwing the original 1978 classic there, soon as we get that hit.
Yeah. Yeah, when she swings the axe and takes his head off, and you get that amazing.
It ties the bow for me with my favorite trilogy of Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and Halloween H2O. It is beautiful the way that they wrapped that up. So let's jump into it. Blaine, do you want to kind of give where we're at, how we got to that point in the film?
Well, I think obviously you see this whole scene where Michael is stabbed by Laurie. He falls over the ledge. He gets very similar to what we saw in 1978, which is what they were looking for. Michael's laying there, and Laurie this time goes to finish Michael, and she pulls the knife out of his chest, and she goes to stab him, and here comes LL Cool J. He ain't dead. You thought he was dead, but he ain't dead. And she's like, he's gone. He's gone. He's there. He's dead. He's dead. Whatever he says. And he pulls Laurie away. Then you get this whole scene of outside, and she's getting evaluated, or I think John and whatever his girlfriend's name is, they're getting evaluated. And then Laurie decides to grab this cop's gun, and she's like, load him in. And they load him into the coroner's van. She goes taking off, and you're like, once again, kind of a false ending, right? And, there's this whole kind of scene in the van where she's looking in the rearview mirror, and she's driving, and he's not moving. And she looks in the rearview mirror again. He's still not moving. She's driving. She looks in the rearview mirror again, and you can see the body bag in the back. He's moving. He's still alive. And he unzips himself. And just as he's about ready to get her, she hits the brakes, and he goes flying through the windshield and tumbles. And then she's like, get up. And she's just waiting for him. And then he stands up. Chris Duran kind of did a weird, like he sits up, but you can tell, I mean, I guess not, I don't want to say weird. You can tell Michael's like very dazed in that scene. Like just the way he sits up, his body's just very kind of like loose. And then he stands up, and Laurie freaking blasts him with the van. They tumble over the edge of this cliff, and she gets ejected. He's rolling down. The van is rolling down, and he slams into this tree that's at the bottom of the hill. And here comes the van toppling down and slams right into him. And I love the way that Chris Duran sold that scene, where he almost like shakes, like it's just like you feel the pain. You're like, oh, God damn it. But that did not feel good. And he goes limp. Then she finds the axe. She comes walking up, and she's like, Michael. And then you get this whole scene where he's like, feeling his mask, and you really see his eyes here, and we talked about this, like we talked about this with Marie, like I think this, having his eyes be visible throughout this whole movie really led to this scene where you see his eyes, and you see him, he's kind of cocking his head, and he's raising his hand up towards her. And it's like, what's happening here? Is he trying to, like, has he finally seen the light, and he's going to be a good old boy now? Or is this like one last ditch effort to grab onto her and strangle her or whatever? And you don't find out, because just as their hands are about ready to talk, Laurie, it's almost like she has like a flash in her head and a realization of, this isn't my brother, this is a murderer. And she freaking swings that axe, and you get that hit of that music note. And then the John Carpenter original 1978 theme, freaking amazing, as his head rolls, and it just stops right there. And then she turns around as the camera like starts to pull back, and she turns around, and it's just like justice. And
Yup.
then boom, it cuts to black. And dude, you can't beat that. Like the final showdown between Michael and Lori, obviously Lori had the advantage because Michael was pinned against a tree in a van, or pinned between the van and a tree. But dude, so freaking good. So good.
It just doesn't get better than that, dude. It's so perfect because, ultimately we're dealing with a timeline where Michael is Lori's brother, and you get this sense at the end. It's like, yeah, Michael is clearly vulnerable at this position, but is Lori ready to kill somebody who is completely vulnerable, and B, not only is this person vulnerable and can't defend themselves, it's her brother. Like, say what you want about all the things Michael's done. Blaine, if you did all of that, I would sure have a hard time swinging an axe at your head.
Right.
And I love that she questions it for a second. And I love that Michael is, again, that intelligent killer that I love, that separates him from Jason, to, maybe he was seeing the light, but probably not. He was probably just trying to fuck with her.
Right.
And I love that she gets that last second, like, you know what? He killed my best friends. Yeah. Fuck this guy. And she whacks him, dude. It is so great. And I think it's the ending that the character of Laurie Strode, Carrie Tate, whatever you want to call her, deserves.
Absolutely.
And I think it's the ultimate way for Michael to die, and for his story to be wrapped up with a bow, like I said. But who knows what might be coming down the pipeline, brother? We might have yet to see our favorite death of Michael Myers. I mean, think about it. Halloween Ends came out 2 years ago, and it made our top 3 for both of us.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we could see the TV show, we could see Michael get killed off in some really awesome way that we're like, damn, that was cool. I hope we get more movies. I hope we see other ways that they're going to kill Michael off. I have ideas for some cool ways that they could kill Michael off that has never been done before. So we'll see. But what do you guys think? What are your 5 favorite ways that Michael has been killed, or at least his story has ended in the Halloween franchise? We want to hear from you guys. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're going to do a little rebranding here in a few months. You're going to see some cool new stuff coming down the pipeline from us. If you guys want to be a part of that change and you want to have a show on our channel, please hit us up. Send us a message on Instagram at halloween.lives.podcast. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know if you've got an idea for a show. We'd be happy to host it for you. And like we said, instantly you'd have thousands of people that would have access to your show by doing it through our channel. You wouldn't have to start fresh, and you get a whole bunch of people who would want to watch, hopefully want to watch. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys for being patient with us while we were off last week. We had Austin move, and I had some things going on. We just weren't able to connect. But like we said, go check out the Rick or Treat podcast. Austin will drop that link below for us so that we can, you guys can go out and watch that or listen to that. It was a lot of fun talk with Ricky. You guys will definitely enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe to him as well. And that's going to do it. Hit us up, subscribe, like, follow. Halloween Lives. Just do it all. We greatly appreciate you guys following along as always. Enjoy the rest of the start of your weekend now if you're watching this at the premiere. And we'll see you next week for the 2024 Halloween Lives draft. I'm Blaine Duncan. That's my brother Austin. We'll see you guys then.